So today I have a very, very special guest, Hortense le Gentil. I hope I got that right. You're so welcome to the podcast, The Handshake. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Ah,
I am very delighted.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to have one of your expertise and your success to share some of your experiences and advices with our listeners here on The Handshake. And as you can probably guess, The Handshake seeks to emphasize the importance of all things human in this age of fast advancing AI towards singularity, I believe. So let's give our listeners a flavor of who this great guest is. You're based in New York. Hortense is a world-renowned executive leadership coach, speaker, and author. She guides CEOs and senior executives on their journey from hero leaders to human leaders. Guided by 30 years in business working across industries, including the media, consulting, and advertising, and as an entrepreneur, she was in 2021 and 23 nominated for the Thinkers 50 Coaching and Mentorship Awards and has been ranked number 5 on the Global Gurus list by World Management Global Gurus. How honored am I to have you along? Now, she is also a certified Marshall Goldsmith stakeholder-centered coach and a member of the MG100 coaches. Now, as an author, and it's today we're looking at some of her work. As an author, she has works such as The Unlocked Leader, Dare to Free Your Own Voice, Lead with Empathy and Shine Your Own Light in the World, Aligned, Connecting Your True Self with the leader you're meant to be, and also you're a contributor, I believe, to Harvard Business Review and ThriveGlobal.com. You've also featured in Forbes and Fast Company and Business Insider. Now, I think I'll stop there and I'll now invite you to add to it and tell us a little about your story to date.
Oh, thank you, Teresa. This is really an honor to be here. So my story. I was born and raised in France, as my accent can say. Yes. I'm sure you already, guessed that. Yes. And I was raised in France, in the north of France, and I was surrounded by horses at that time.
Right.
And horses was everything to me. It was my love, my best friend, my everything. And then, at that time also, I was a short jumper.
Very good.
So, and I was very passionate about that. So I spent a lot of time there. And in fact, I learned a lot when I think about it now. It's always when you look for, backward that you understand. And at that time, I think I learned about leadership. I learned about, how to connect with yourself, to connect with others, because and empathy, because the horse doesn't, it doesn't talk, right? They don't talk. Yeah. And so how you communicate, and I'm sure you know that, because where you are there and not far from Ireland, I'm sure you have plenty of horses there. And and how you communicate with your hand, with your body, with your legs, and so on and so on. So I learned a lot about empathy at that time and about leadership, but I didn't realize at that moment. But every situation in our life shape us, right?
Of course.
And then it was, so I grew up like that. And then it was time to go to the university at one point. So I was in Paris at that time. And then I think it was time to move to my second passion. And my second passion was, I wanted to absolutely go to the US. But don't ask me why, Teresa. I don't know. I know. The why I know. In fact, no, that's not true. The why I know is because, for me, it was freedom. It was everything was possible. It was not like in France. No, you have to do that. That is right. That is wrong. You know how is France. And I love my country, but, this is how we grew up. And then, it was this idea. So, but where it's coming from, I don't know. Maybe, the movies, maybe, whatever it was. And then I went to Northeastern University, both to Paris and Northeastern University, and I took marketing at that time, and it was one of the first school at that time that offered the exchange.
The placement. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and then I was like a pioneer at that time because nobody did that before. And then I came back to France. I worked for large corporations and in advertising agencies, and for magazines, fashion magazines, and things like that. And at one point, I felt that I was not aligned anymore, and that I didn't do what I wanted to do. At the same time, I got married and I had 2 children. Everything looked perfect outside, but I felt like I couldn't
Not
express.
inside.
Yeah, not inside. It was not right. It was not the right thing for me. Then I can go back to that later, but at that moment, it was really a turning point for me. And what I wanted is to be an entrepreneur. But I think I have to share something before. So it's at that moment, it was difficult because I had to take a decision if I wanted really to be myself. Then I had, and I couldn't because it was difficult. It was difficult to think about, okay, you have to change your work and you also have to change your personal life. Then what happened, of course, when you don't take decision, I was very sick. I was sick. I went sick, very sick, and I was stuck in bed for a month.
Right.
And then I had time to think. And my grandmother, Teresa, you would love my grandmother. She was, that grandmother, very wise, short, but eyes like that. I just love my grandmother. And she came back in my dream.
Very good.
But I had a dream, and she came back and she talked to me, and she said, Hortense, you have to find the path of roses.
Right.
And I told her, okay, what is it? Where is the path of roses? Tell me, because, I'm lost. And she just smiled at me and she just told me, you know where it is. And she just smiled and she disappeared. Goodness. So I woke up. I was furious. She didn't tell me anything. It sounds very important what she had to tell me, but I didn't get the message.
You on a wild goose chase. You were going to have to find it yourself.
Yes, exactly. And then I will understand later that what she meant was I had to listen to my inner voice.
Right. Okay.
Not the voices outside, not the voices of society who said you don't divorce, not the voices of the educational friends or whatever who could say, no, you cannot change like that, work, you cannot start and to be an entrepreneur now, you are 40, it's too late. So, and then when I decided to move on, and to leave my marriage with my children and to start over, and to quit my job, everything at the same time, of course, I started to free myself.
Right.
And I thought the first step to become who I am today, and then to meet who I meant to be, to understand my mission and to listen to my talent and make my talent grow.
And what had been blocking you? What had been blocking you from that?
The voices outside, the societies, the
busyness of life. Yeah.
And the education, and then you don't do that, and it's not right, and because people say, oh no, it's you. You are not normal, because your life is great. So why do you complain and things like that? So it's difficult at one point when you feel this very strong. You feel that you need to change something, but
something tugging at you to change, but you don't know what it is.
Yes, and you don't know where it is. So the thing is, you need to do the first step, because the first step comes and then the second, and then everything comes. But this is a journey.
Sure.
This is not a destination. This is a
Right.
journey. But when you are true to yourself, when you have the courage to, because you need to be courageous. I was afraid, Teresa, very
Yes.
afraid. But
It's risky. It's risky. You're taking a big risk, and you're responsible for two children as well.
absolutely. So it's a big risk, and I didn't have a lot of people with me, but I had to do it. It was like, it was, I needed to do it. It was obvious. It was like, I need to survive. It was,
Sure.
I need to do it. So this is what I did. And then everything changed, and not in a day, but yes, in a day,
Gradually.
the day I left, but after I had to build everything. But now I was so free that I could write my own story, and then you start really to the work. In fact, to find your talent and to find your mission, and then I became an entrepreneur in a recycling steel industry. So nothing to do with what I did before. It was a big adventure. But because, life is also a question of people that you met and that you meet, and then well, it's another story, but anyway, so I did that. I learned a lot about, of course, everything. So innovation, politics, management, leadership. I was in marketing, I was taking care of marketing and commercial and that time. And I told them, I told all my engineers, I don't know anything, about engineering, but you have to teach me. And they it changed everything because they appreciate the fact that I was not telling I know everything. And then a decade later, I found myself in a place where, okay, I need to move also. I need to move again. But every decade, you at one point you get tired. But I didn't know what will be my next move. And but I was still, but I was thinking, what is my next move? I felt it. I felt, okay, you did what you had to do and you learned what you had to learn now. So now it's time to move. And then a friend of mine asked me if I could help a friend of him, and he was an entrepreneur. And he told me, you know, I know you are so good to help people. And he told me, and by the way, why you are not a coach? You should be a coach. And I said, a coach. Okay. I don't know what is a coach, but I'm going to help your friend for sure. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not a coach. But then he put a little seed in my brain,
Of course, yeah.
and I put his heart. I said, okay, let's see, because what I learned here is that during
You had
those,
the expertise. It was just to learn how to pass it on.
yeah, but I was not aware of that at that moment. And then I put this hat, and I said, okay, let's see. But what I learned for sure at that time was, if it is meant to me, the door are going to open. If not, it's not going to work. And by the way, I also learned that I have to do my way. Not I didn't have to enter in a box. That was not possible for me. It was not me.
So you're heading towards working for yourself, not working for somebody else.
Yes. And then, okay, with, this little hat, this is a little seed and idea, I met my first, my first client. He didn't know he was my first client. I think he still doesn't know, but I should tell him now. And then after 1 hour of discussion with him, I really felt it, Teresa. I felt in my heart that, wow,
this is where I'm meant to be.
This is meant to be. And it was like exactly what you said before. It was like a puzzle. So my life was a puzzle. And sometimes, and very often, I absolutely didn't understand why, I was there. But everything had a reason, and it was to, to lead me, to lead me where I was at that time. And then, of course, for a while, I continue both. I started coaching, but and I was in Paris at that time. And then coaching, in Paris is different from, coaching in New York, but in the US. But, it worked very well. So well that I had to sell the other company to my business partner, and then and to move on. And then after it was very fast because I met Marshall Goldsmith. I don't know if you know Marshall
Yes, I do.
Goldsmith.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's a pope of leadership for those who coaching leadership for those who don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't know him or don't know him. And then he invited me, to be part of the MG 100. So I was, so honored. So MG 100 is because he's a Buddhist, and he wanted to give back. So he chose, people in the world, 50 people first, and then 100, and now we are a lot. But to be part of this group, and he was teaching us everything, so it was amazing. And then I started, to go back to my dream and to come to the US. And then one day I felt, if I could come back to New York, that would be great. And then I wrote my first book, Aligned, as you said. And my first book, I met my, because I interview people, I met what would be my husband, my soulmate. And then I moved to New York, and then now I'm in New York, and I wrote the second book. I am speaking, I am coaching, I do workshop, and more, and yeah, and now this is my
You've
life.
built a great business. Absolutely. That's a lovely story. It's one of adventure and risk taking. But here in Ireland, we have some stud farms where children who are on the spectrum go for some classes and they communicate with the horse. Really, they feel safe, etc. It's very therapeutic. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I know, absolutely. No, horses is this is great. I think everybody should, at one point, be around horses. You
Horses.
learn, you learn a lot, right?
So today we'll look at your latest publication, The Unlocked Leader. And the pandemic drastically changed how we view vulnerability in leadership. And how do you think has this shift either validated or evolved your thinking about the human leader since you began writing The
Mm.
Unlocked Leader? You probably wrote it around the time of the pandemic when things were locked down and quiet.
Yeah, I started during the pandemic, and after, you know, as my story is telling, I started very before, in fact, before the movement for me started, just before, my coaching at that time, when I was talking about the coaching in Paris, this is what I did.
Mhm.
So this is what I preach for, for a long time now.
Mhm.
But the COVID helped people to understand the importance of being human, because we were, all the companies all talking together, the CEOs and so on, and they just face situation of human being. What I'm going to do, with the people, in
Yes.
the stores, listening to stories, difficult stories,
Mhm.
emotional stories, so
Mhm.
they learn the power of being human, connect with people, listen to people. So I think it was a big push for the movement, what I call a movement. And then I think now nobody's talking anymore about, well, we have exception, but about, why we should be human.
Mhm.
But the problem is how to become this human leader we are talking about, because everybody knows how the education, they teach you very well how to become hero. So how to do with your left brain, but not really how to show your vulnerability, or just, say, I don't know, or just listen to others, or just ask questions. So this is something that they don't know, that we
Absolutely.
don't know.
Develop the soft skills.
The soft
Absolutely.
skills.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yes.
I noted Adriana Huffington, the founder and CEO of Thrive Global. She said, Hortense le Gentil not only explains how our mindsets, often formed in childhood, can become mind traps, she shows how to escape those traps to fulfill our true potential as leaders. So, with that in mind, you introduced the concept of mind traps as mental obstacles that keep leaders anchored in traditional thinking patterns. What is the source of the mind traps?
Yeah. So from my experience, the sources, in my story also illustrate, but are from the education. So from voices, voices behind us. So the education, the social, your parents, you want to please somebody, or you were raised like that, or it can come from trauma. But trauma, you don't have to have a trauma, with a capital T. You can have a
Many
daily,
traumas. Yeah.
yeah, and daily trauma. But let me give you an example. I had a client who was expected to be the next CEO of a company. So he was smart, everything went very well. But in order to be a CEO, of course, he had to have interview with the board members.
Sure.
So this is what he did. Except that out of the blue, his behavior completely changed. He started to talk, 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 never listen. So
He he
everybody was,
fitted into the role. He fitted
yeah,
into the role and lost
yeah,
the finish. Yeah.
yeah. And then, he lost control. He didn't know what happened. So of course he didn't got the job, of course. And then, but he was surprised, and everybody was surprised. And then he came to me like that, and he told me, I don't know where it's coming from. And I said, okay, so let's figure out. So revisiting his life, he remembered that years before, he was a student, Teresa. He was a student. He had, in order, to be graduate, he had to pass an exam. And to pass this exam, he has to had interview with some teachers, and one of the teacher didn't let him talk. So you imagine that A+ student, very well prepared, everything is going well, nothing could happen. He spent hours to prepare, and then he couldn't express himself. So what happened? So he was shocked, and then he created a trauma. And then at the end of the interview, if you can call that an interview, the teacher told him, young guy, I don't know what you're going to do in life, but I can promise you something. You will never be a CEO, because I can see all your emotion on your face. Then this poor student, A+ student, okay, so he graduated, of course, but he left school with a trauma and with a voice with almost a prediction: you will not be a
Holding him
CEO.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, by the way, thinking that if I may one day have a chance, I have to not show any emotions. It was wrong, wrong, and wrong. So it illustrated, the where it's coming from. So the trauma and voices.
Yes, the power of words spoken by a significant other in a situation, but also I suppose, the molding effect of education and how it molds us into how we're expected to be acceptable.
Completely right, Teresa. Completely right. So we can say also that we need direction when we grow up. It's like a plant, so we need a
Yeah.
tutor. It's like when we start learning how to ride bicycle, we need wheels, but at one moment we need to take off.
So
To leave the leaves.
the coaching for him became that moment of unlocking his leadership potential.
Exactly, because it took it was now conscious and it understood where it's coming from, and then we started the process of unlocking ourselves. Should I talk about that now?
Which can be, yes, it can be slow and painful and self-confrontational.
Yes, exactly. So you need time, you take time. So of course, it's a book and it's a talk, so we go fast, but it's normal to take a lot of time on that. But the first thing is that from my experience, the first thing is, okay, you face your fear because you're afraid to face that. That's fine. So negotiate with your fear. Find the source. The source could be a trauma, or could be to make it simple, and could be a voice, and often behind the trauma you have a voice also, even if it's your voice. So it's all about that, the story that you tell yourself. Then when you are aware of that, you're ready to let go, and then you challenge what I call the mind. We go to the mind to the mind shift now. So you challenge those beliefs. So in that case, is it true that you cannot be a CEO? Is it relevant? Is it helpful today? So I repeat, because this is very important for the people who listen. Those three questions are very powerful, very simple, but very powerful. Is it true? Is it relevant? And is it helpful today? Because as we said, could be helpful until now, but it's not anymore. In that case, it was no, no, no.
And is it serving you well? And obviously wasn't serving him well.
No, not at all. So we work on let go. So if you answer only at one question, if you answer no, you're ready to let go. So why would you keep it if you don't need it anymore? So you challenge the voices with those three questions, and then you start, the process of letting go. It sounds very, very easy. It is not very easy, because letting go means, when you think about the situation, so go back to the example, you need to don't feel any emotion. Don't be angry. Don't be sad. Don't be whatever. Then you need to go back to this moment again and again. I give exercise in the book, but one of them is very good, is the tug of war. But you need to work on it until you feel free, until you don't feel emotions.
So you have to unlearn the old habits and relearn a new.
And now, yes, when you're free, this is what I call the mind built. Now that you're free, let's go. Let's write your own story. So what are your values? How you want to be remembered as a CEO, as a leader, as a person? How do you want to show up for you, for your family, for your friends, for your team? How do you want to show up? And for that, I have a very good exercise. It's not very fun, but I think this is the best exercise, is to think about your eulogy.
Yes.
One day we will be out of the picture. What do you want people to say about you
When you're gone? Yeah.
when you're gone? And then you will know what is important and where are your priorities for you.
So I can see many parallels with your own life. So what was the mind trap for you? If we could put words on it.
The mind trap was, I wanted to enter in a box, and the box was, married, with somebody smart, living in Paris, and having children, and having a good life, and that's all.
That didn't fulfill you. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's all. But I wanted also to work. I wanted to do things like that, but I couldn't for
Sure.
another reason. But I mean, because my marriage didn't allow me to do that. I couldn't do that. Well, anyway, and then what I did that is to please my parents somewhere. To please my parents, to please people this is what they expected from me.
Because
To
the next step for a young girl. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Mm. And,
And
so the mind shift happens. I think perhaps maybe the mind shift is the realization this is not serving me well. I have to change, and then taking the risk and going about the change. Is that the mind shift?
exactly, because when you think about it, is it true? Is it true that you cannot be a change your and be an entrepreneur at the age of 40? No, and I
Self,
prove it.
yeah. So it's self-limiting beliefs, really. We get in our own way of
Yes,
progress. Now,
yes.
your book challenges the superhero leader archetype that's deeply embedded in corporate culture. So, what specific experiences led you to conclude that this model is not just outdated, but potentially harmful to organizational success?
Because the world changed, as we said, Teresa, and now we are facing some difficulties, like people expectation change also, and what they want is connect with you. Ask the young people, our young generation, what they want to do. Do you think they want, to wait and to be treated like nothing and they don't exist and they don't know? They want to belong. They want to know that they make a difference. They want to be seen. They want to be heard, and they want to be part of something bigger. You will see different situations, so you are free to choose what kind of leader you want to be. But it's proven, we have proved, so research show that the productivity increase when you are human, because people, they know why they come to work. So you make a real big difference.
Course. And when you're asked for your opinion, you realize you matter and that your opinion matters and that you are contributing.
You're
So
contributing.
engagement heightens, as the Gallup reports would show us. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So when a leader transitions from superhero to human, there's often resistance both internally and from their team. What's the most unexpected challenge you've seen leaders face in this journey, and how do they navigate it? So the unexpected from their team, and both inside the inner struggle to change, and then the unexpected from the team who had become used to seeing them another way.
From my experience, everything starts with yourself. So when the first thing is the fear. So and for a leader, when he starts the journey, he's afraid, because he's afraid of losing control. He's afraid,
Yeah.
and facing his emotion, others' emotion. So what I see, when we go through that and we learn how to connect with people, after the team, they could be surprised, but they are not that surprised, because they know that you're working on it. Because it's not a secret, when you're coaching, you get a coach, but you don't have to. I had situations where we didn't say anything, but very often I encourage, the leader to include the team and say, okay, I'm working on, communicate better or be better, whatever it is, because you give the signal that, okay, you are human and you are not perfect, and you can, we can evolve. And
so it's about starting a movement, really, to change the culture of the place, isn't it?
And you absolutely, and then you change, you change absolutely, because think about it, you are a role model. It's not about what you say; it's about what you it's not about what you say, it's what you do. So and so first you have to say, because communication is clue in that case, because perception, you need time to change a perception. And then if you don't include, again, I had both cases. I had a client who absolutely didn't know, didn't want, to people know, and others, share everything. I think it's more and it's easiest, when you share for sure, because really you send that. And
Very
when you do,
closely connected in with emotional intelligence as well, particularly empathy, which takes me nicely to the next question. How can channeling empathy help unlock the leadership potential?
because as we said, is when people feel when you channel empathy, that means that you give the place to others to be seen, listened. So you speak last. So instead of telling everybody, blah, blah, you do that, Teresa, da, 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 and you leave the room, no, you just hear and said, okay, let's talk, let's listen. So Teresa, what do you think about that? John, what do you think about that? What do you think? So
it's a democratic style of leadership in ways, and you're loosening up former boundaries. You're restating boundaries, aren't you?
yes, absolutely, completely,
Yeah.
100% true. Because what that means, what is empathy? Empathy is the ability to feel what you feel. So if you want to feel, others' emotion or to understand, if I want to understand you, Teresa, I first need to listen, to look at you, to listen what you have to say, or not say, but just see, your movement, your body language, everything. This is empathy.
For understanding, yeah.
For understanding, for seeing you. And then, okay, so, and then I come back to who I am, to Hortense, or to, the leader you are. And then, okay, I ask question and so on and so on. And then I can help and I can understand others. But if you don't take the time to listen or to just observe or just be with others or ask questions, or if you don't take the time to share your story, nothing happened. And this is what we did together, Teresa, when we started, when we're off and we share our story. Yeah,
Yes.
because
So
stories are
it's
important.
giving time to it, and it's the pace at which you go then. But a lot of companies, a lot of people in companies are under very much pressure these days, and everything is rush, 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 and the pace of change is causing people to miss out on these moments of taking time to listen and to understand, isn't it? Yeah.
Absolutely. But you know what I say? You gaining time by losing time. So when you stop,
Yes.
you gain time, in fact. So go slow.
You're cutting through. You're cutting through to the point rather than circling around it a few times by giving it time. So you're saving time in that way. So you refer to the concept of mind build. So how can it help us lead empathetically to empower our inner leader?
Because now, as you know, we said, you are yourself. And I am a big, big believer, Teresa, that each of us, we have our own talent.
Yes.
And what we need to do is to find this talent and to make this talent grow. And Picasso said the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. I don't know. We are not sure that Picasso said that.
That's nice, yeah.
But that's nice, and that's what we mean.
Nice.
And then you make a difference, because when you are connected to your true self, to your values, to who you are, to your feeling, to your emotions, you show up completely differently in the world. And then you can help other, and you can do things differently. And
the power behind it becomes the power behind you. It becomes your motivation, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly. So it's really awaken and free your inner talent, inner genius.
Your book, you draw parallels between diverse leaders like Marie Kondo and Steve Jobs. What surprising commonalities did you discover between such contrasting leaders?
Humanity. Because Steve Jobs, changed and discovered, vulnerability and connected with others, and what that means. And they say, all of both of them in this case, they say that, at the end of the day, what are we doing? We are working with human being. Okay, maybe we're going to have some machine, but still you will have, some
Human.
human being. So, and what are we doing? We are doing or create things for other human beings. So it's all about being human.
Mhm.
And then if you don't behave as a human being, and if you don't take consideration of that, you don't try to understand, the people in front of you, how can you understand, what, we are not going to do anything anymore.
And what are the threats to that going forward? What are the threats to that being human going forward?
What do you mean by threats?
What might destabilize the emphasis on the humaneness of the workplace?
Yeah, I think just the fear. Our fear to fail, our fear to chaos, our fear to feel emotion, our fear to say no to voices outside that seems more powerful or things like that. That's all. I think this is the only thing I see. It's, fear,
I
be afraid.
suppose also working from home and where people don't have direct contact as often as they had in the past in pre-COVID times can destabilize the passing on of the culture that you want to pertain in a workplace as well.
That's true. That's true. That's true. That's true and not true. Means
To a point.
that's true that we need, nothing will replace to be, face to face and to have a glass of water or wine or whatever together, right? Nothing is going to replace that. But you can do something. Zoom also is a way to connect with other people very fast. And this is technology. This is the beauty of the technology. And then you can still be human on a Zoom, even if you have 100 people or 2 people or whatever. You can still take the time, see the person in front of you. It's not 100% exactly the same, but you still can do it.
So the future will remain human even in an AI age, and if we use AI properly.
Exactly. For me, AI has to be in service of the human being, and in service. This is great because the AI is going to do very fast. What our left brain is doing, but is doing faster. And then this is great because it's all about our right side, the emotions, the connectivity, the creativity, innovation is all about right, the vision. And this is that part of the side of the brain that we need to grow and to learn to listen, because this is going to be more and more and more important. And this is all about understanding, human, understanding people. The other one, the left one, is very rational and technical, in fact. So, okay, the technical, machine one day is going to do it very fast and very good. Good, good. So you can have more time to create and more time to do
Absolutely.
things.
Free
So
up
this
time.
is how I see AI, and really, and I think this is important to remember that it's in service of people.
It needs careful managing, though, and it needs nudging along by the human. You emphasize the chain reaction effect of human-centered leadership across organizations. Can you share a specific example from your experience where this ripple effect transformed not just the individual teams, but fundamentally altered the organization's culture and performance metrics?
Absolutely. You can take, for example, Microsoft, who completely changed. It just Satya Nadella took became CEO. I think it was in 2014 or something. Yeah, I think. And then at that time it was the Microsoft didn't go well, so you have no innovation, nothing. And then he created this culture of empathy, and because he discovered empathy because it's from his story. I don't know if you know the story, but he has, unfortunately, his son was born with sickness in the brain, and
Right.
then to start, he was, at the beginning he didn't understand. He was a little angry, and one day he just realized that, and I think his wife helped him to realize that. Nothing happened to him, but it happened to his son. And from there, what he did is he tried to understood, and he
Understand.
tried,
Yeah.
yeah, to understand. Sorry, he tried to understand, and he tried to put his shoes in the shoes of
Try
his
to
of his
empathize. Yeah, empathize with yourself.
empathy.
Very good. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And then this is, what he decided to do, at Microsoft. And then he, because he said, okay, so let's put your shoes in other, in our client shoes,
Mm.
and your team shoes and things like that. And he created, he completely changed the culture, and he created and innovated, everything that was helpful to the client, to the customer, instead of creating, things that your client didn't want.
Sure.
This-
Yeah. Or
So,
just serve the company. Yeah.
yes, of the company, he really created, something, because he was able to listen and to understand what the non said, the
Well,
non.
yeah.
No,
So the chain effect became the ripple effect.
it's a ripple effect, because it
Yeah.
comes, from the top, and it goes to the frontliner. And you can also see that, sometimes when you go to shopping, when you go to shop, and you see that, for example, when you go to Best Buy, and you see all those people with smile, and, serve you so nicely and things like that. So same, it's because,
It
they
becomes
have their.
infectious. It becomes infectious. Absolutely. You mentioned the mirror neurons. What role do they play, and why do some people call them the Gandhi neurons?
So we talk about that. This is because, some of them thought that, some neuroscience thinks that they are helping with empathy. They are,
Mm.
they are the neurons of empathy. So that's why we call them, and we call, it's not me, it's a neuroscientist who call them, the Gandhi neurons. I love that. And because, yes, this is it. This is the empathy, the ability to put yourself in other shoes. And this is also how we learn, in fact, because you learn by
Mirroring you see from
yeah.
others.
And we can see that with a baby, for example. See all
Okay.
babies, and
Yes.
when you spoon, the baby, at the same time, you open, you
Yes.
open your mouth, and the baby open the mouth. So this is how we learn. And
Sure.
this is all about neuron,
Yeah, yeah. Example. Yeah.
neural neurons.
So what are some of the key strategies to challenge your fears? Key strategies to challenge your fears.
To challenge your fears, it's, for me, it's, really, first, be aware of it. So don't pretend you're not afraid.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's part of being human. So that's the
Sure.
good news for me. If you're afraid, you're alive. And then just, face your fears. And I like to say, invite the fear to the table, have a conversation, negotiate with your fear. Yes, I know, I'm afraid. It's okay, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Mhm.
And then this is really important, to take the time to face those fears. And sometimes you can talk, with someone about your fears. Your fears are too huge, but don't pretend. No, 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 no. I'm not afraid, and don't, because you're not going to go anywhere if you don't have this conversation with your fears.
So you
They're going
turn
to hold you back at one point. So
first. So you channel those fears then into the roadmap towards your destiny.
yes,
Mhm. You write about the shining star. Shining your light in the world. It's a beautiful, evocative type of phrase you use. Can you share a moment when you witnessed a leader fully embrace this concept and the ripple effect it created? Shining your light in the world. The
yeah, we can.
awakening moment.
Yeah, we can again, take the example of Satya, but we can also take the example of Corey Berry, who is the CEO of Best Buy today, or many of other or different, but shine the you know, why they shine, because they are they are true to themselves. They are authentic. Take Ralph Lauren. They are authentic. They are who they are. So they are connected with their values.
Sure.
You take Corey, during COVID, she took, this very difficult decision to close all the stores. She didn't know what to do. Nobody at that time, right?
Yeah, yeah, nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
Yeah.
But, she decided, okay, what matters to me is my priority is my team, my people. So I don't want, to put them at
Into
risk.
them. Yeah.
Whatever the economic is behind, we will see, we will manage. Okay, yeah, this is what she did. And if you take Ralph Lauren, he didn't, at one point he said no. He said no to, when he was very young, and he was born in the Bronx, and then he designed those ties, and he wanted to sell the ties to a big store here, but the big store said, yes, we take the ties, but you have to change completely the look. And he said no, and he didn't have at that time any money.
Yeah.
But he was so sure of him, so sure of the dream of a better life. He has this, vision of what he wanted to do for here in the US. And that he said no. He had to, it was very courageous of him at that time. And then see how he shined until now. Now it's more than 50 years. And he's still shining everywhere. So, the
So he remained true
closeness
to himself.
create.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and people, they love to work at Ralph Lauren or Microsoft or Best Buy.
So finally, what advice would you give our listeners around approaches to unlocking their leadership potential?
I would recommend to take the first step right now, and just to take the time you need, and reflect and think about it, and think about, okay, what are your fears? What are you waiting for? To be yourself. Think about it. Just right now. Just take 1 minute.
Excellent. And finally, how might our listeners get in touch with you, follow you, and see, learn from you?
So I have a website. So my name, hortenselegentil.com. I have books, as you said, The Unlock Leader and Aligned. I have, I am very, very present on social media. So LinkedIn and Instagram. You can follow me there. And that's it. And the article that I write or things like that.
Wonderful. I've really enjoyed chatting to you. I hope our listeners enjoyed and learned a load. And who knows, but our paths will meet again, either virtually or in person.
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you,
so
everyone.
much. Thank you.